Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar on planning and testing for a Costpoint 7 upgrade. We'd like to thank you for joining us today, and I hope you each take away something useful from today's session. My name is LJ DeStefano and I'm a systems consultant for corporate results within the business systems groups here at CRI. We're located in Herndon, Virginia, and we have a team of individuals here that specialize in many different areas within Costpoint and other systems. Within this business systems group, we have employees that specialize in migrating to Costpoint 7 from GCS and Vision, upgrading to Costpoint 7, Deltek time and expense, Cognos enterprise reporting, system training, as well as several other areas. We are also a partner with Deltek. Some of our other services here at CRI include back office solutions such as accounting and finance, payroll, human resources, and contracts. My contact information is listed on the last slide, so if you have any questions along the way, feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call. On the agenda for today, we're going to hit on several different areas to get you thinking about your Costpoint 7 upgrade. We're going to touch on pre-planning activities, so that will be what needs to be considered before upgrading. We're going to touch on project planning. Who do you want involved in the upgrade and how do you want them involved? We'll also talk about some dates and some time frames. We'll talk on the Costpoint 7 upgrade, the technical aspect, so that'll be the hardware and software accessibility. We'll touch on functional testing, so that'll be your basic applicational testing of Costpoint, as well as test cases and scenarios. And we will also touch on regression testing, so that'll be full processes within Costpoint 7, such as payroll and closes. And then we'll go into go live and go live support. We'll talk about cutover times, timeframes, and communication. And then we'll do a lessons learned, what you take away from the whole project plan and how everything went. So first up, we have pre-planning activities. We have one slide on to change or not to change, and then our next one is going to be business rules analysis. Within pre-planning activities, we typically focus on the question of change. So we usually ask the clients what is working and what isn't working within Costpoint. It's given the appropriate time frame. It can be a perfect opportunity for any necessary configuration changes. Some of the recommended changes could include things like pillar re-engineering, which would be your product structure, your chart of accounts, and your org codes. They could also have other codes such as employee codes like the PLCs and the GLCs, or your vendor ID formats and your customer formats. Those are all things that could be changed when configuring the new Costpoint 7 functionality. There's also data cleanup. Besides the change of the actual configuration of the data, there's also a great opportunity to clean up the data that's going to be going into Costpoint 7. A typical pain point for most clients is reoccurring codes. This data can be cleaned up at this time, and it'll make things easier in the long run. Other change areas include process re-engineering. So for items such as billing and purchasing, as well as new functionality within Costpoint, there's things like the ACRN and the WAF functionality within Costpoint 7 that can be utilized to increase efficiency. So those are some areas that you want to be thinking of in terms of what do we need to do to get ready for Costpoint 7 and what additional functionality Costpoint 7 brings to the table. Next up, we have business rule analysis. During this analysis, we identify a process that could be changed or would prefer to be enhanced or automated. I'm going to give you an example of one of the most recent ones that we've done. That would be the automation of special project authorization. This basically is one of our clients. They were using a paper trail workflow that would flow through email. So the first thing that we did was they came to us and they said, we have this really long, drawn-out process of emailing, and it takes a couple of weeks to get the additional approvals, and it's a couple-week process that we want to be using the functionality of Costpoint to automate this process. So the first thing that we did was we documented and reviewed the as-is process. We did some brief interviews on who was involved within the process. We flowcharted the process, and we documented how it was being conducted before the automation. And then we designed the to-be process. So once we took in consideration all of the parties involved and how each party was, approving the document and how they were approving it, and if it could be done within Costpoint, we mapped that out within Costpoint. So we evaluated the software functionality, and then we documented the steps to implement. So once we did all that, we basically migrated this process from a paper process, and we incorporated the workflow capability within Costpoint to have this done through Costpoint with the proper approvals. And now, instead of the 3-week process through email, the users basically get an email that they have to go in and approve the document. It's all electronic and flows a lot easier. So it cut down on that 3-week process into more of a couple of day process if done efficiently. Okay, next up we have project planning. This is something that varies between all of our clients. Some of the clients prefer detailed project plans, and some of the other clients have minimal project plans. So it's really up to the leadership and the right individuals in place to get the project done in a complete and efficient manner. So this will depend a lot on experience and who you have in the right places. The outline of a basic project plan includes the technical aspect, so hosting, environments, servers, and possible outsourcing, as well as the work breakdown structure. So that'll be your scheduling and resource planning. That's probably the most important part of the project plan, as well as communications. So how are you going to communicate throughout the company within the upgrade itself, as well as training. Costpoint 7 is it's a new software, and if you know Costpoint 6, it's going to be a little different for the users using 7, and somehow you need to get those users up to speed. So we have a training plan, and then we have our testing plan. So that'll be your data reconciliation and your test cases in going live to Costpoint 7. So within the technical plan, we want the client to think about what type of Costpoint 7 environment is right for them. Production and test environments, how many of each, or do you just have a production environment? We typically recommend at least one test environment, depending on your functionality and what you'll be using it for. We also discuss hosting. Will you host, or do you have the capability within house to host? And then outsourcing. Do you want someone that has done it before and has the technical knowledge of the technical plan? So some things to consider for the actual system architecture. Costpoint 7 requires new servers. There's 64-bit machines, operating systems, and the database, and the use of the virtual servers or the cloud. And within Costpoint 7 now there's a 3 schema to the database instead of just 1, and the database is collated during this upgrade. Okay, so the work breakdown structure / scheduling. Like I said earlier, this is one of the most important parts of the project plan, if not the most important part. So we typically recommend really mapping this out and spending some time on it before digging into the project plan itself. We recommend using Microsoft Project. That can give you a good basis for the project plan in terms of how things are laid out and the packages themselves, or it can also be done within Excel. After you develop the WBS, one of the key components is the estimation of completion for each package. You need to be realistic in the time it takes to do one item, or also within that the resources that are needed for that one task or one item. You need to be flexible with what you have assigned and who you have assigned. And along the same lines, there needs to be some slack in the schedule for the unknown elements that arise, and they typically take time to solve. So if you have something go wrong in the first 2 weeks of your WBS schedule, and you haven't built enough slack into the other aspects of it, your whole schedule will be shifting, and the resources will be out of line. So you really need to take each segment of the schedule and break it out in terms of what happens if something goes wrong here, or vice versa, just along the schedule. We also highly recommend to identify the right people for each WBS package. So you want to have a good mix of expertise on the topic, but you also don't want to have too many people within the room to kind of delay, I guess, the talking or the negotiation process of how it's going to be done, and why it would be done this way compared to the other way. So you want to make sure that you have the right people in the room and that you don't have too many people in the room. Okay, up next we have the communication plan. So this is how are you going to communicate that this project is being completed through all the parties. Do you need to have regular meetings or executive briefings, or just project team status updates? You can use basically any variation of these, but some type of communication needs to be done throughout the organization or throughout the team to keep everyone on track. So some of the tools that we have effectively used in the past consist of Microsoft SharePoint. This is a good place to check in and out documents that have a good system of control within the documents. So if you have several users emailing documents back and forth between parties, they might make changes to one and forgot to send it out, or it's on their desktop, or it's on their drive. But really they're using the old version. This could cause some serious data problems within the upgrade itself. So by using SharePoint, you can check in and out documents, and you'll be able to see the timestamp of the last person that checked it out, as well as the version. And if someone's checked it out, you'll have to request for them to check it back in so that you can use it, or you'll have to wait till they're done. So it's a good way to put controls in place on just the documents that you'll be using during the upgrade. We also recommend using the calendar within Microsoft Outlook. So it could be a group calendar, and you can put your WBS structure on that calendar. So when an individual goes into the calendar for the group, they'll be able to see, according to the WBS, where the project is at and what their expectations are coming up for due dates, and when their time is going to be needed. So it's a good way for everyone to keep on track and see where the progress is at, or see where the possible delays are, and adjust their schedules accordingly. Another thing that we use is frequently asked questions. Typically in an upgrade, users have the same general types of questions. So by using a frequently asked questions page, maybe within SharePoint, you can have the general questions that seem to be being asked several times. It's a good place for them to go and see if anyone else has had the same question or the same problem without consistent emails of where do we go to log in, or just the nagging questions, or the basic stuff that could be accomplished through this page. Okay, up next we have the training plan. So for here we're going to talk about who gets tested. You need to decide, I guess, the best way to train. Are we going to be using a training the tester method first, and then they train everyone else? Are we going to be having one expert train everyone? How is everyone going to get trained? Testers versus users. So this should be mapped out. And one of the things that we do at CRI is we are a source of training within house. So we provide in-house training as well as online training on all of the modules within Costpoint. So if you have any training needs, please feel free to contact us. We use training mechanisms such as hands-on training. So that can be, your classroom environment type of training, step-by-step on the job process itself. We also use WebEx trainings, so there'll be quick meetings such as something like this, where you follow along with my screen, and we can talk through something, or I'll show you, and then you can show me your screen and what you're seeing. So it's a good place without being live to live or face to face, how to get something done. We also use lunch and learns, so that'll be a good time for your basic functionality within a group of people. They'll basically hop in a conference room, and it will be done through WebEx. It's more of a tutorial type of training for large groups, but it's effective if done correctly. And we also have video training. So within CRI, we have a video library of different aspects of Costpoint. So if you want training on, say, Akron and WAF billing, there's a Akron and WAF billing video that you can watch, at your leisure. That'll teach you how the training for Akron and WAF can be completed. And there's also training guides. So that'll be, your follow-alongs with the steps within the training guide and kind of learn on your own. So that's more independent training. Okay, up next we have the testing plan. So after you've trained the necessary individuals within Costpoint 7, it's time for your testing. This is probably one of the most important parts of the upgrade itself. Within the WBS, you need to decide what gets tested. So we recommend all the modules and systems get tested. We know that this is a lot of work, but once the data comes over live, there's really no way to go back. So it's better to find out within testing than it would to be found out during production. Since this is a new cost point, you want to ensure that the data looks valid. One of the examples of the conversion is that the parameter screens, they don't come through. So you'll need to set up those from scratch and test those as you would going live. There's also new functionality that needs to be tested. For example, work schedules are now in Costpoint to accommodate salary proration. Up next we have who are the testers. So you can either have subject matter experts or end users. And you want to do a testing sequence of A to Z. So you really want to follow your processes of processing the transactions from a start to finished aspect. And then within the testing environment, are you going to be doing this kind of on your own? Are you going to be setting up meeting rooms at a centralized location? Some of the things that we've seen in the past with the testing is centralized locations. A couple times a week, they'll block off the conference rooms and they'll do the testing within that meeting room, and that way everyone can see how the testing is going and it's on their schedule so that they can get their work done at a different time and come to those meetings being prepared to test just for the go live. So that's something to keep in mind. And as well as we have test case preparation. So that's going to be, how are you going to test? What will the process be? So CRI has established test cases for each of the modules within Costpoint 7, and clients find them very helpful to test the functionality as well as the data that they're looking for. They can be really a great tool. I think on slide 16, I'm going to show you an example of a brief test case. So hold tight until we get to there. Getting back to the Costpoint 7 upgrade, the technical upgrade. So we have evaluate current hardware against the to-be network diagram document. We have to evaluate our vendors, possibly order additional hardware. We have to configure that additional hardware, install the software, and confirm that it's working efficiently and correctly. And now we'll get into functional testing and regression/integrated testing. Okay, so for functional testing, we're going to use test scripts to perform the testing. This is important because it's new in Costpoint. All the current modules need to be tested. So like we said earlier, the A to Z process from start to finish. So within functional testing, we use small sample sizes. For instance, AP will test 10 to 20 vouchers, and we want to make sure that within that sample size, it's a good representation of our actual data. So we want to ensure that the transaction variety is valid. You don't want to, take the easiest vouchers for the sample size. You want to have a mix of your day-to-day activities and what you would normally find within your current Costpoint or your current system setup. We also want to test new modules or new functionality. So that's anything that you're adding or that you haven't used before. You want to test that out at this time to make sure that it's working to your liking. Within functional testing, we recommend using issues logs. That'll be a good place to store kind of your errors or your questions of the functional testing, and it's a good place to store it so that one user can go in and say, I ran into this error on this screen. Maybe they weren't set up correctly, or the system admin can go in and see that error log and possibly change the preferences. It's a quick error. Or if someone else tries the same thing, maybe they get that error and it's a ticket to Deltek, or it's a different type of issue that would need to be fixed. So an issue log is a good place to store kind of your overall errors and make sure everyone's on the same page. Another thing with the functional testing is that all testing should be reviewed. So we typically have a functional tester test the system functionality, and then we have a manager or supervisor sign off on that functionality to ensure that it's working correctly and that there's an overview process there. So this is the test case that I was talking about earlier. You can see here this is our accounts receivable test case. We put the type of test case at the top, and then we have a brief description on where that test case is within Costpoint. So this would be within the accounting domain, within the AR module, and it has a description here on what the testing is acting to accomplish. This test case is condensed just for this presentation purpose. So most of our test cases have anywhere between 15 to 40 steps. This one only has 2, but it basically outlines the same functionality that you'll see within the test cases. So it has the steps listed vertically here, and then it has the type of step that would be performed. So you can see here for step 1, it's going to be a manual process of going to customers, manage customers, enter one new customer. So within this step here is the testing of the functionality of Costpoint 7. So the expected result would be that the user was able to add a record to the database without an error. And if that is true within the testing, the user of the test case would come into the actual column and they would put, I was able to add this without an error. Or if they did get an error, they could put the error here. And then they would have a sign off for a pass fail and the date and who the user was. So it's a good place to store your information on the functional testing and to document how it's being done. So that would be a manual type of step here. In terms of other steps, there's reporting. So you can, we're going to ask you to print reports that are typically used within Costpoint. So you can see here we ask you to print the customer listing. So the expected result is that you'll be able to print that report. The user will fill in these fields over here. And then earlier I talked on the approvals. So down here we have date executed and executed by, pass, fail, and failed for this reason. So this will be where the user signs off on the test case, and then the approver of the test case, usually a supervisor or manager, will come in and they'll approve the test case down here, so that you have a valid record of at this date, which would be the date column, this function was able to be performed. Okay, up next we have regression/integrated testing. So this will be more comprehensive testing. This is really looking at all your system functionality in terms of upstream and downstream systems to be tested. So we recommend obviously testing all the modules that need to be tested, so from start to finish again. So this will be testing things such as Costpoint enterprise reporting, as well as Deltek time and expense. So for this type of testing, it's going to be larger sample size being used. For instance, the payroll, we're going to do the complete payroll cycle for regression/integrated testing. And these results are reconciled against the current Costpoint 6.2 results, or whatever system you're on. We want to make sure that the same thing that you're seeing within your system is being seen within Costpoint 7. This is very important, and once again we recommend using issues logs and that all testing is reviewed. So we also have test cases for these regression and integrated testing. Okay, Costpoint 7 Go Live. We have Go Live Prep and Go Live Support. First up for Go Live is prepare a cutover plan. So that's going to be who do you need and when do you need them. We want to consider all the processes when choosing a time for this Go Live. Typically end of timesheet cycles work best depending on what you have going on. And we want to consider resource availability. So who do we need? Remember that this is a database upgrade and that there has been tables added and changed. So this is important in terms of your Go Live preparation. And like we touched on earlier, the communications. So if you have a group-wide email or a company-wide email being sent out saying that on this weekend we're preparing for Go Live, the system will be down from Friday to Monday or whatever the case may be, there needs to be efficient communication so that someone isn't thrown off when they're trying to go in and process a check or do their timesheet. There just needs to be efficient communication done with all parties within the system for the Go Live preparation. And at this time we recommend distributing your training guides and your reference materials. And Go Live support. So this will be how you're going to support the requests after you go live. So we recommend using a help desk function. This could be on-site help desk. It could be an email help desk. A call line in or a WebEx. I can't do this. Please help me through WebEx type of support. Any combination of those functions is going to be necessary in order to help the Go Live tickets or the Go Live support after problems arise. And with that being said, there's always going to be some issues after going live. No matter how much testing and planning you've done, something will happen. If you feel like you've tested everything, just within a month or two of using the system, there's going to be something that you haven't tested that goes wrong. It typically happens almost every go live. Okay, and then we do a lessons learned. So it's important to conduct a lessons learned for future projects. So we want to focus on what worked and what didn't work and why that is. So we touch on interviewing personnel to see what they would have changed within the project plan or the testing or basically the overall upgrade. If they have any recommendations, we do surveys, just a quick email survey, and we've conducted town hall meetings, where people just express their concerns about going live or express something that they would like to be changed next time. It's just overall a good idea to do a lessons learned. That way everyone's on the same page on what can be corrected for next time. And then just a report for management and the project team would be the last step there. Okay, this is the last slide. You can see here my email is ljDestefano at cri4results.com. Feel free to email me with any questions you had during this webinar, and you can also call me at 703-848-7917. Thank you for attending.